Today we will listen to the story of the movie. The name is Last Breath. This movie will release in 2025. It is based on a true incident. The story is about a team that protects the gas pipelines laid under the sea. This is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. At the beginning of the film, we see a guy named Chris, who has just returned home after a long time. His wife was worried, but he assures her that he is fine. After spending several days at home, he returns to his job. Back on the ship, everybody is already on a mission. All of Chris's men were preparing to leave. When everybody gathered, a guy named Craig who goes diving, he was also the instructor. He told them about the mission, saying they would have to spend the next 28 days under the sea. For this, they would stay at 3,000 feet below the surface, check the gas pipelines thoroughly, and then they would be called back. After this, the whole team, including the captain, was ready. Everyone boarded the submarine. The ship sailed to a place in the sea where Craig was supposed to release the submarine into the water. He told everyone, "Now you are going to the sea, so be ready." Before entering the water, the captain encouraged them, because this work was dangerous. Before the mission, Chris asked Mork about the weather. It was raining heavily that night, and it seemed as if there was a storm at sea. While everybody was sleeping, they were suddenly woken up. As soon as they got up, everyone was ready to go on the mission. It was Dev's turn first, and then Chris had to go. Chris and Dev descended into the depths of the ocean. They were constantly being monitored so that help could be provided if needed. Suddenly, the alarm sounded. There was some problem with the ship. Pamby had to come back upstairs, which meant that Chris and Dev. The captain also told them to go back immediately. They threw the rope down, but then there was a jolt. Chris got injured in the process. She was having a hard time coming up. Dave was guiding him, but Chris's oxygen was also running low. Dev told Chris that he would come back to help him, but Chris also needed courage to hold on. He had to work hard, and because of that, he was short of breath. Dev returned to Pamby, but he did not bring any good news about Chris. Everyone was worried about him. Chris was still trapped in the depths of the ocean. He had only 8 minutes of oxygen left. Holding the light in his hand, Chris tried to find the way, but there was nothing but water and darkness everywhere. The pain was unbearable, and his breathing was getting heavier. Meanwhile, the entire team was working desperately to save him. The sea current outside was also very strong. The team consulted among themselves, and then they tried returning the ship closer. Now Chris had only 4 minutes, then just 1 minute of oxygen left. He saw something like a cage and tried to get inside. But he couldn't succeed. At that moment, he remembered Mora's words from a video call. "After you leave, I'll always be the same. I think you're safe in your tin can. But when you go into the water, my heart fills with fear every second. Still, I know you are brave. For us, you can face anything. Don't be afraid of difficulties." Hearing these words in his mind, Chris tried to stand up again. Even though his oxygen had run out, he gathered courage and waited for a few seconds, breathing without the cylinder. Back on the ship, Dev, the captain, and the rest of the team sat in worry. They were trying their best to find Chris. After a lot of effort, they managed to locate him. Chris was still alive. But the lack of oxygen was closing his eyes slowly. He had already survived 7 minutes and 35 seconds without oxygen, but they knew he couldn't hold on much longer. Craig, the dive supervisor and part of Chris's team, was very upset. He kept saying, "I want to go myself and save him." But it wasn't possible. Chris had so little time, so Craig took control of the machine, the one that could help them locate and bring Chris up. With great difficulty, he operated it and guided it towards Chris. He tried to lift Chris by grabbing his belt, but Chris had tied himself with the cage-like structure, which made the rescue harder, and so, unbelievably, Chris survived without oxygen for a full 16 minutes. Some parts of his body had already gone numb, but there were still faint signs that Chris could be alive. The rest of the team had finally reached him. People were worried, thinking too much time had passed, and maybe Chris was already gone. The captain, too, was losing courage, because in every mission they had always stood together. Meanwhile, the ship faced another problem due to heavy rain. The contact between the tin can and the ship was broken. The ship's technology had stopped working, but once they fixed everything, the ship's team and the tin can team got back in touch. Craig immediately informed the captain about Chris's condition. The captain then ordered Dev to go into the water. Before leaving, he told him with emotion, "I don't want to lose my friends, and so, Dev, you will have to act courageously." Dev reached Chris and freed him from the cage. Then, with all his strength, he started pulling him up. But suddenly the plane lost balance, and a huge machine was about to collide. Dev quickly pulled Chris away and escaped in time. Holding the rope tightly, Dev came up with great difficulty, because Chris's weight was too heavy. But somehow, Dev managed to bring him all the way up. As soon as they reached the top, the captain immediately gave Chris his own helmet. They pulled Chris down, his face pale, almost white. The captain tried hard to breathe air into his mouth. And finally, Chris gasped and caught his breath. But even then, he could not become completely stable. I tried to talk to him, but there was no response from Chris. Dev also tried from his side. Then suddenly, Chris spoke faintly, asking Dev if he was okay. That one line meant everything. Chris had regained consciousness, but he didn't remember what had just happened to him. Craig and the ship's crew were overjoyed. All their hard work had finally paid off. And just then, the heavy rain also stopped. Dev was looking after Chris in every possible way. Chris, with tears in his eyes, thanked Dev. As soon as Chris recovered a little, the very first thing he said was about returning home. The whole team eventually returned. Craig and the captain had a special bond with Chris. They had always cared for him deeply. When Mara arrived, she immediately asked Chris what had happened. At first, she was worried, but the moment she realized he was safe, her heart filled with relief and happiness. Chris had survived something unthinkable. He had spent a full 29 minutes underwater without oxygen. It was nothing short of a miracle of nature. Even the experts could not believe it. How was this even possible? 3 days after this tragic incident, Chris was back on his feet, and within a week, he even returned to his job. And this is where the film comes to an end. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And please, don't forget to press the bell button.